Welcome back to GENERATiONS Barber Shop, and welcome to Behind the Blades. This is where we explore the mindset behind the conversations that we had in the shop this week. And if you've not already heard, yes, it's bonfire night. I need to make this video real quick so I can score some black peas on the way home. Jim Carrey once said he wishes that everybody could be rich and famous, only for them to realise that life was not about being rich nor famous. With that in mind, the conversation that we had in the shop this week was around wealth, but not only the wealth that we can pass on for generations, but also the mindset. So to give that context, Natty and I, my partner, have been working extremely hard as we come from humble beginnings to establish a base of wealth. Not only that we can pass on for future generations, but we can also benefit from and utilise for impact and service now. But the point is, if we want to pass on this wealth, we have to be mindful of statistics. And the statistics are that wealth typically lasts 3 generations. The first generation establishes the wealth. The second generation sees what the first generation went through in order to establish that. So by the time it gets passed on to the third generation, they have no recollection or understanding of what it took to create. Therefore, unfortunately, that's the point at which it's lost. Now, this is where the principle comes in. The principle is not necessarily about the money, although that's great. It's actually about the mindset that needs to be passed on. What lessons, what learnings, what teachings can we pass on? And more importantly, how can we pass those on? As somebody without children, I'm not going to pretend to know the answer to this, but that's the point. A melting pot like GENERATiONS Barber Shop is a great place and catalyst for conversation like this, to get the mind thinking, to put the gears and the wheels in motion. So with that said, it brings another quote to mind that is, the skill set without the mindset will leave you upset. And if we think about this, the means without the mindset on how to manage those means, well, again, that's a recipe for upset. So let's think about the true value of that we can pass on, and the true wealth that I believe is mindset. Next up, who knows what's good or bad? Have you ever had a circumstance on which you found yourself in it today and you could not see it any other way than it must be a bad thing, only to in time realise that you were grateful for that thing, circumstance or situation to have happened and taken place, because there's a learning or a lesson within that you were able to take forward and utilise in future service, whether it be to yourself or others. To apply this to an example that I'm sure we can all resonate with, do you remember when you were a child and you were told not to touch the fire, but you touched it anyway? And what happened? You got burned. But the good thing that came from that is that you, going forward, knew that whenever mum or dad said, no, don't touch, that's hot, you knew what the consequences were. And as a result, they probably saved you from a far more nasty injury. And again, as we like to discuss principles and what I like to refer to as universal laws, this again is something that we can take forward. But not only can we take it forward, we can actually question in future moments that we feel that we are in a bad situation, whether that situation is really bad, or whether in fact it is something that is laying the foundations for future success by way of a lesson or learning. Not only that, we can actually look at circumstances that we're in, and if they seem bad on face value, rather than judge them, we might be able to just see them for what they really are, which is indeed neutral. Because if in one moment it can be bad, only to fast forward a few years and realise that there's service and utility within it, and then, dare I say that is a good experience to have had, therefore it is not bad nor good. And if one was to cancel the other out, 1 take 1 is 0, is neutral. Which brings another question to mind. What could we apply this to? I know we're not robots, we're not machines. There are going to be circumstances and situations in life that are beyond testing. However, a reminder of something like this could serve us in offering up perspective. That perspective is that the situation or circumstance that we find ourselves in, we may be able to, even in the darkest of times, dig and find that seed of future prosperity. And the final takeaway from conversations in the barbershop this week are the principle around it taking 10 years to become an overnight success. A friend of mine came in the shop this week and he's had an extremely lucrative week in business. And as a result, one of his employees said, wow, blank, this has been an amazing week. Only for my friend to say, hold on, has it been an amazing week? Or has it been an accumulation of effort over a period of time? He's been in business for around 18 months now, and you could argue that maybe it's the 18 months that have led to this week have actually been where the bulk of the work has taken place. Almost like a well, where in order to get the water from the bottom of the well, you must pump and build the pressure over a period of time to get the result. So therefore, when the water spouts, it wasn't the last pump that led to the offering, it was indeed all of the pumps leading up to that point. And one could even argue a lot further back than that. For example, I know this friend of mine has been in business for other people for many years now, learning his trade and his stripes. So you could argue 15 years ago, when he actually started out in this career path, before setting up his own company, was when the real work began, when he originally started to pump the lever and build the pressure. So again, if you have a week where everything seems to go right and somebody's able to look at you and go, wow, look at what you've achieved this week. You've had an amazing week. You've had an amazing outing. And their perception is that it just happened overnight. Just be sure to remind them of all the steps leading up to this point and pop the illusion of this overnight success once and for all. And with that, all that's left to say is if you like this content, you can check out that video right there. Keep living your truth, and I'm gonna see you real soon.